2025 is starting off strong with a seemingly sleeper darling beyond Citadel. Before we get into why I like this game a lot, I have to put a very strong content warning about this game. I don't want it to become the entire conversation surrounding it because I think it could quickly get incredibly annoying, and frankly, I don't care and want to have that discussion. But if this was rated, it would likely be AO, like Fear and Hunger. If anything, it deserves it way more. Beyond Citadel is extremely gory to the point I can't show basically any of it without the video getting age-gated or demonetized. Like, if you're squeamish, either don't ever die or turn that shit off before you see what happens when you do. The game contains and alludes to a lot of subject matter that will likely turn off the average person, but if you are an enjoyer of things like Drakengard, then you'll be right at home. My joke review on Backlog referred to this game as the Sengoku rants of the FPS genre. Think brutal Doom, but with anime girl Rio Naguro. It's like the creator saw the tank scene in Ghost of the Shell and it gave them their sexual awakening. If this flavor of gore is too much for you, you can disable it in the settings, along with half of the collectible art that is hidden throughout the levels, which ranges from thinly veiled fetish art to straight up porn. There is a chance that I'm overselling the gore and gratuity for the sake of being completely sure people know what they're getting into before buying this game, but if you can get through Fear and Hunger, you can assuredly get through this. Beyond Citadel may be more gory and gratuitous, but it has much better censor settings compared to Fear and Hunger, which only has fan patches. The game has such a unique direction that even the most off-putting aspects are something that are at the very least worth putting up with to see Doe Koromori's unfiltered vision. There are two distinct aspects of this game that I love: the gameplay and the creation myth religious aspects of the story. The gameplay, depending on what difficulty you are playing on and the plethora of settings you can tweak, has beyond Citadel's core gameplay loop range from a very smooth boomer shooter with incredibly satisfying movement options to a slow plodding tactical shooter. Like, it allows you to modify such granular things like enemy hearing ranges and how bullets spread. Leave it to a gun otaku to create lavish reload sprite animations that allow you to pop out the mag to check if there are bullets left in the gun despite not even telling you anything. It's completely superfluous, but it's there because it looks cool, and I agree, it is cool as hell. The game has an elaborate reloading system where some guns require 5 inputs to reload. You need to take out the mag or clip of the gun. If you have a spare, you can hit one button to just pop it right back in, and then a third button to cock the gun. You can cock your guns at any time to take a bullet out, and while going to record examples for the video, I discovered that you could actually pick up the unused bullets that you drop onto the ground. The innkeeper even makes a cute reference to this, saying that, well, you can't really have that creative of designs if you want to have these elaborate and accurate reload animation sprites. Your ability to cock your guns at any point does end up becoming a mechanic later in the game, as guns with lower durability can begin to jam, requiring you to cock them over and over again to cycle the chamber, clearing the bullet. On normal, it does not happen nearly enough in my opinion, so I had to go out of my way to not fix my guns to experience this more. Maybe this wasn't intended to be an extremely integral mechanic, but part of me wished it featured more gun scavenging and dealing with faulty guns like Ghost in the Shell meets Stalker. Minus this game's weapon durability, this is the gameplay loop that Parapedia offers, so if this sounds any bit interesting to you, definitely check that game out. My last upload was a short recommendation video on the game if you want some more information on it. Steam even has a bundle including both Citadel games and Parapedia. The weapons and their sound design are extremely satisfying to use and hear. The sniper in this game is so powerful. Seeing a single shot cause most enemies to explode never got old. Your arsenal is wide and varied enough that there is probably at least one gun you will find enjoyable to use. Each weapon also has an alt-fire which ranges in application, because some, like the laser from the final assault rifle or the grenade launcher from the Magnum, feel so much stronger than the riot shield from the Uzi. I do wish that there was a less cumbersome way to swap between weapons in the same subclass. You can only hold one of each type, so your options are to either find one out in the wild to swap to it after a killed enemy drops it for you, which which happened so little I only wrote down a single time that it happened to me in chapter 5 of 8, or the other choice is to buy it again from the shopkeeper, which your money could be used towards other things, like the multiple modifications you can purchase at the repair bench, which can vastly change how a weapon operates. I just wish that there was maybe a stashing mechanic like a gun closet or something like that back at the Citadel. While it is possible to complete the game with any weapon or weapon combination you want, it does feel like each new weapon in a subclass is a direct upgrade from the previous one, or at least having major upgrades with slight drawbacks leading to gameplay decision making. The breech loader feels like a worse version of the Covenant carbine. It's a single shot rifle that works good at medium range. The cavalry carbine is a bolt action repeater that also works great at medium range. The heavy MG feels like a straight upgrade to the machine rifle with a faster rate of fire, but with a lower range alt fire, as the laser on the MR feels super OP compared to the flamethrower. So that's where the trade-off comes in of which would you rather have. But these weapons are on different buttons, so it feels kinda redundant to be able to have both of them at the same time in only this one specific scenario when you are locked to one of each weapon type for everything else. To me, it felt like it would have made more sense if the weapons were ordered storm rifle, machine rifle, and heavy MG on button 3, then breech loader, the cavalry carbine, and Zexta or Exta, Sexta, Seta, I don't know. Whatever it's called, I thought these 3 should be on 5. The breech loader even has the same sound effect as the Zexta rifle. Though I should mention that my direct upgrade thought process may be off base, since the weapon description of the Zeta rifle mentions that it has less firepower due to its recoil, but in gameplay I couldn't notice this, so I'm not entirely sure if this is just flavor text or it actually does less damage compared to the previous weapons. Ultimately, this point is a very minor nitpick, but it does suck that at times it feels like how much you can change up your class is being restricted, since there is only so much money you can acquire to swap out your guns over and over again if enemies aren't dropping them, which, as I just covered, doesn't really happen, which the same could be said about chests that could randomly drop weapons, which also doesn't even happen on higher difficulties. The other big aspect of gameplay that makes Beyond Citadel so addicting to come back to is its movement. Initial missions have movement comparable to Doom in levels that look like the start of the original Wolfenstein. As you progress through the game, you'll be able to level yourself up through virtues, one which affects your movement speed. Combine this with your mobility upgrades you acquire like air dash, double jump, charge jumps, wall bouncing, and you'll be flying through levels like a shrapnel spitting hurricane. I've used this phrase to describe a lot of overpowered characters in the past, but you quite literally become the unstoppable god-killing death machine in Beyond Citadel. This is something that cannot be conveyed via words or possibly even through the visuals of this video. It's something you have to experience for yourself. It's incredibly smooth and responsive to use all of your movement options at your disposal in sequence. They have such harmony with each other that they don't interfere when you try to bunny hop through maps or wall run like your Ryu Hayabusa. From my experience in other games with a lot of movement options, tech, and upgrades, there becomes a point where you can accidentally mess up the rhythm because you miss input, because there is simply too much stuff, but there isn't enough buttons to go around. This simply isn't the case in Beyond Citadel, and that is what is so incredibly addicting about its game feel. It is only in the water level where the movement really starts to feel weird. It's my least favorite segment in the game, but thankfully it's only a single chapter, and the rest are much more interesting. These levels are far more in line with what you would expect from a retro shooter inspired by classics like the original Doom, Wolfenstein, Marathon, and Outlaws. The dev's Twitter account outright references the game to be like Marathon, and yeah, I see the resemblance. I've only dabbled a bit with the first game after the fact, and that one seems to fit it even more. There are also the much larger cityscape levels which add vehicular combat to the equation. The only one I didn't like was how the tank controlled, but the helicopter mech suit stuff is awesome. The layouts of the levels themselves may not be the most complex or revolutionary thing you've ever seen, but their aesthetics and design are top-notch. The art direction of this game is just incredible. A mix of Ghost in the Shell, Blame, I was even seeing stuff that reminded me of Oni. I love how cold the world of Beyond Citadel is. The harsh blues and gunmetal steel grays create such an unwelcoming, devoid of life environments. The game opens to this barren wasteland and it really sets the tone of this game. (1-4) and (5-3) are some of my favorite levels visually. The reds and oranges of the skyboxes clash so nicely against the harsh blues and grays. 5-3 skybox really reminds me of early Atlas RPG sprite work, Megami Tensei 2 to be precise. There's also 6-4, whose skybox I'm pretty sure is just a reference to the Ash Lake from Dark Souls 1. It looks so good. The vibes of these levels is just immaculate, especially when the fog starts to roll in. Maybe it's from my own complicated relationship with religion from my church-building family upbringing, but I am always drawn to games that have this very specific exploration of religion and God. It's one of the many reasons I love Fear and Hunger 1 and 2 so much. There's just something about solo indie devs that have an acute fascination with God and their relationship with man that has me sucked in like a mouse to a glue trap. The sci-fi concepts are just so cool, mixing the biblical with the cybernetic, gods sundering humanity, and in turn humans desecrating the holy. Unspeakable things happen to man at the hands of the angels and demons, and in turn, humans defile God in an attempt to stop the madness. Yoko Taro would probably really love this game if he played it. The game's story is left intentionally vague for the most part. This is one of the perfect games for those what really happened in X game type videos, as piecing together what truly happened and filling in the blanks is part of the fun of Beyond Citadel's story. Again, if you like this aspect from FromSoft games and the Fear and Hunger duo, then you will likely really enjoy this part of the game. Most of the story is delivered via load screen snippets. It's very akin to Drakengard 3 and Nier Gestalt, where the deeper you get into the game, the more it starts to reveal what is going on. What was once tutorials and light sprinklings or nuggets of information turn into recontextualizing truth nukes. It goes hand in hand with how the level design and the enemy encounters progress. Initially, you are just fighting soldiers, those who have sided with the demons willingly or not, only for more and more angelic monstrosities to begin to start attacking you. As you destroy them, you come to realize that they were possibly once your fellow humans morphed into this nightmarish form, or the body parts are implying that they were used to feed or power them. After a full playthrough, rereading some of the screens via my footage, and talking to the bartender who will help fill in the picture, so make sure you keep going back to her every chance you get, I don't even think I got the full picture, and my interpretation could be easily off-base, especially since I admittedly haven't finished the first game and played Beyond Citadel first. Like, for example, the term Machine Angel and Synthetic Angel are used interchangeably throughout the game, to the point that I'm not entirely sure if these are two different groups of people or things, or this is simply a quirk of the English translation. There's a good chance that people will just be correcting me in the comments continuously, so if they do, thanks for the engagement. The story, as I understand it, is that most of humanity has been wiped out from the arrival of the Seven Trumpeters. A group of angels chose to stand with the remnants of humanity to fight back and stop complete extinction. The angels are now dead, and a temple has been built as their final resting place. So you, the martyr, have been reawakened to kill the Trumpeters, reclaim the artifacts the synthetic angels and the last of humanity are fighting to get back, purge the unholy corruption, and put an end to this madness. At least that's what it initially seems like, because the deeper you go, the more the plot unravels and the madness consumes. After Act 3, when returning to the Citadel, you are called to the basement. This is where you find Sister Alta and a gigantic disembodied head. She then reveals that the synthetic angels previously thought to be built to replace the now felled original angels are actually one and the same. When they initially died, Alta salvaged their bodies and rebuilt them the best she could. This is what I meant by earlier that humanity desecrates the holy. We are now playing God trying to reanimate the angels who died in battle versus demons. This fact is kept secret, possibly to keep the despair from seeping into the last of humanity fighting the war, thinking that if this is the fate of such holy angelic beings, what chance does the average or merely augmented human have against such unspeakable horrors? The head is of the last angel and master of Alta, Crone. The damage to them was so severe they couldn't revive the personality of Crone, but the brain matter left in their skull was strong enough to become a powerful CPU, better than anything humanity could produce. Alta remarks that the synthetic angels have this strong sense of guilt and remorse instilled into them that she didn't program. You can see how willing they are to die for the mission in order to make things right. There are loading screens that mention their hatred for themselves and their bodies, how they are saddened that their blessings, cybernetics, are being used to hurt humanity. You can possibly even interpret this one loading screen as being from the perspective of the angels. They hate their masters, they hate what has been done to their bodies, they hate what has happened to them and those around them. They feel pity and remorse for those who are left behind and trapped in this dying world, unable to prevent this cataclysm. Alta wonders if this is the remnants of Crone's consciousness living on through the synthetic angels. Is she prolonging Crone's suffering after their death finally freed them from this nightmare by turning their brain into a computer and constructing the synthetic angels? Is she foolishly giving Crone a second chance, a chance of redemption to right God's wrong and fix this mess? I love the moral struggle Alta has whenever you talk to them, wondering if desecrating God, puppeteering her former master, and doing whatever it takes no matter the unspeakable and taboo that must be committed is the right thing to do in order to end this war. Would God, Crone, and the other sisters be mad? Would they forgive her for such sacrilege? Is this what they would have wanted? Crone's possible remorse from their failure to stop all of this, which gets imprinted onto the synthetic angels, comes back around later when it's revealed that the angels are literally giving their remaining life force for these sacred irons they are delivering to you before each and every boss fight. In gameplay, this is easily the weakest aspect of combat, as all of the bosses are pretty much brain-dead victory laps that you press A or D and strafe around these giant masses until they explode. Maybe I missed this initially, but narratively I thought that the angels were just showing up to give you the strongest weapons for set pieces, not killing themselves for the sake of humanity and the mission. It recontextualizes a lot of the dialogue once you find this out. The deeper you go, the more and more it seems like the martyr is being manipulated and taken advantage of. She is being used by those around her, the seven angels, the machine angels, the followers at the Citadel. You see their manipulation everywhere. Humans are being used as fuel for warships in secret. Those who are no longer able to maintain their minds have the option to have their cybernetics removed, harvested and scavenged to be used by others, and die with dignity. Or your consciousness can be replaced by turning your body into a mobile turret called a tall boy, which is considered the highest honor. There are continuous allusions and references to the humiliation of the flesh and soul. The engineers have manufactured countless bodies. In the context of gameplay, this allows you to max out your extra lives, so the martyr can fight the demons forever in an endless battle of attrition. But the martyr is also using these people in turn. After each level, you get these dreamlike sequences, and after chapter 5, we get to see an insight of how the martyr feels deep down, thoughts and feelings that she herself don't seem to want to confront. She has her own objective that happens to line up with the desires of everyone else around her. Saying she doesn't truly care about killing the trumpeters may not be the most accurate description of this. Some part of her does want revenge for what happened to her and her brother. Some part of her is still vengeful, remorseful, riddled with regret and guilt, but ultimately what she cares about the most is reclaiming the artifacts for her own selfish reasons. Playing through the game and trying to take in its full story really reminds me of what is said to the player in the final chapter of The Silver Case. Morikawa tells you to not get lost in the chaos. It feels like that vagueness and confusing aspect of the story and the mechanism of how it's told to you is with the goal of conveying to the player how it feels from the perspective of the martyr. The noise is the intention. You can't discern meaning because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because they want you to get confused and think it's overwhelming. They want you to stop thinking and do what you are told because not thinking and being subservient is easier and allows you to escape that suffocating feeling from trying to figure out what's going on around you. What do do you mean angels aren't angels, the demons aren't demons? If demons did good deeds would become evil, and the world would become upside down. What do you mean there's no God? Fake angels, what are those? Or maybe it's confusing because that's human. The world is a complex place beyond our understanding, and God made humanity in his image, and the game has instilled time and time again that the angels and God aren't perfect, infallible beings here. They have regrets, they make mistakes, they can't magically snap their fingers and fix all of this. They have to wage an unending war, and humanity has dwindled from 6 billion to 12,000 nations. The world is burned to ashes. All that's left are the citadels, a few towns where people desperately try to hold on, cling to the last bits of light left in the world. Humanity hates gods, and the gods too hate themselves. But once the dust is settled, the war finally over, all of the trumpeters slain, all of the angels snuffed out, and all of your comrades smoldering, no one is left in this barren hellscape but the martyr. With all 7 artifacts which house the billions of harvested human souls, humanity can start again. But the souls cry out to let them rest, not to make us whole. Do not make us into a new god. She is told she can't get back the world she once lived in. Those peaceful and happy days are long dead, and you can't bring back what is lost. Her brother wants her to let go of her past, stop being shackled by it, kill the past and let it rest. As the loading screens earlier said, the world she came from has been completely erased by the trumpeters. There is no going back, and she knows this. Lulu's last request is to let humanity die as humans and to not make them into a new god, but the martyr does this anyway. What truly happens next is unclear. Given this line from the innkeeper, we will just have to wait and see what's in store for the third game, if it even continues from this point and isn't about something else entirely, and the fate of the new world with the newly created god isn't just left ambiguous, something for the player to decide for themselves. Beyond Citadel is one of the coolest games I've played, and it is easily the most fun I've had writing a video in recent memory. Its story is esoteric and unconventional in its delivery in a way that I love. Trying to piece together what is happening was so much fun. It's blunt when it needs to be, and confusing when it feels like it. It's similar to how I talked about games like Gungrave in the past. There is just the right amount of vagueness with its written verbiage that invites your imagination to run wild and fill in the blanks. I am a very visual thinker, so getting to envision all of the things that aren't explicitly shown or laid bare was an experience very few things, let alone games, give. I don't think that this is a game for everyone, as the fetishistic gore and the overtly implied incest plot will understandably filter and turn off a lot of people, but Beyond Citadel is truly one of the most unique games out there. I'd much rather see more weird, unfiltered visions from creators like this than soulless products. Or even worse, something that clearly originally had a vision but has since been sanded down, and at some point in the developmental process lost its identity. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching as always. Firstly, I want to give a massive shout out to Valeti Arts, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, man, for making the incredible thumbnail for this video. I wanted to make something inspired by the Final Cut cover for Apocalypse Now, and I think they did an incredible job. I've been so excited to have this as the thumbnail for the video. If you really like the video, then please leave a like, comment, and share the video around. If you want to see more videos like this and support the channel, then maybe consider becoming a patron on Patreon, or now the newly added YouTube membership. All patrons and YouTube members get access to videos a day early, along with a $3 tier to allow you to vote on upcoming multi-game reviews, a $7 tier to view rough cuts of upcoming videos, and now I'm going to shout out all of my $5 and up patrons and members who really help support the channel. Vic Sauce, Valeti, Bully, Densha, Turbo Chicken, Scary Dinosaur, Burley, Chikun Highwind, Dev Welkin, Fishkami, Jordan Bennett, Kevin Velasquez, Kohai Carmen, Lotto, Maxi89C, Medi Not the Bad Guy, MGS Duh, Quartz, Samuel Egan, Sayin Heggy, Slemph Tingle, Vaso, Metal Cactus, Friday Night Fragging, Alec Joseph, Ben Johnson, Ben Olsberg, Buckets, Chichometrius, Cursed Void, Ek Frazo, Filthy Finger 69, Hardleg Joe, Jacob Hamilton, Leon, Nicholas Pedinato, Pittori Bursky, Sean the Berserker Fighter, Shisaji, Tabriz Sadiq, and Neutral Guy. Thanks so much, everyone. As for what's coming out next, I have a lot of videos still in the work. I got a couple more PS2 action game videos in the work. Maybe I'll do one on Monster Hunter since I've been playing that a lot lately, or maybe I'll finally get around to finishing that Transformers PS2 game video. So as always, thank you for watching and see you next time.